Hi friends. Today we're going to talk about a underutilized pentatonic scale, at least in my opinion, something that can give us some slight twists of color that can add some real interest to our melodic playing. Hopefully it'll give you some ideas to spice up your approach to improvisation. So apologies up front, this topic is a little difficult for me to gauge at how I should present it best. So I'm going to put some chapters in the description so you can jump around to what might apply to you, because some of the advanced players might go, yeah, I got that, just give me the application, which will be closer to the end. But I do want to explain a little bit to help some folks who might not have a very good grasp of the fingerboard and different possibilities, intervals, and things like that before we get into it. So use the chapters if you'd like. Also, I'd like to express, before I get started, some real gratitude for those who support my channel. Thanks very much to everyone who subscribes and puts in comments. I always enjoy the comments. I love to hear the feedback of what people are finding useful. And for those who have supported my music, buying my records, or my chord melodies or my ebook, thanks very much for your support. Really appreciate it. So let's dive in. I had the great pleasure to study with the legendary guitar instructor Mick Goodrick in the early 90s for a couple of years. And Mick turned me on to this idea, although we didn't really work on it directly, but it is in his book. For anyone who is not aware, The Advancing Guitarist is amazing. If you're looking for work to do for the rest of your life, this book's for you. But in it, Mick talks about two different pentatonic scales, and I want to clarify before getting too deep into this about nomenclature, because the way he uses it is a bit different than how probably the majority of you do. He calls what we can agree on the major pentatonic scales, like a C major pentatonic scale, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Now he calls that the major pentatonic, which we all do. He also calls it the Chinese pentatonic. He does not use the term relative, but the pentatonic we're going to talk about today he calls it the minor pentatonic, but then in parentheses he calls it the Japanese pentatonic, which is the same thing as the C, except we lower the third degree. So 1, 2, 3 is normally an E. It's going to be an E flat, but everything else stays the same. So 1, 2, flat 3, 5, 6. 1, 2, flat 3, 5, 6. 1, 2. That's the scale. So he calls that minor pentatonic Japanese. So because we all know the relative as the minor pentatonic, right? If C major pentatonic is we know that C major is relative to A minor pentatonic. So, but we're not going to use that nomenclature. I'm going to use Chinese, which would mean either C major or A minor because they're relative. Or I'm going to use the Japanese, which is the minor equivalent, the flatted third there. So just a baseline, because the nomenclature can get a little bit confusing. So the prequel to this, the application, is really to explore some different places on the fretboard that you can lay this thing out. So hopefully, if you're intermediate or above player, you're quite comfortable with the 5 different places to play the major pentatonic scale. So if we started at the lowest position, if we stay in the key of C, but start down here, we get that, right? C major pentatonic. Now we're going to change the E, the third, to a flat. And get that. So that's one position. Next position is, we all know the infamous A minor pentatonic. Same thing, if C is our root, we flat the E. So get that. So these are positions you're going to want to play with a little bit to get the sound under your belt. So we already did the one in the starting on the 8th fret. We go up here. Now, here's the one I wanted to talk about a little bit. Like, most people would recognize this C major version beginning on D. This kind of weird one that has a little bit of a different, right? Sometimes what I'm finding with this, now that we're going to flat that E right there, and then here, is pretty awkward. So I play 3 notes per string, and then up to the remainder of the scale. Get that sound. It's actually quite, this is my most favorite position to play this. It just fits pretty well, that sound. And then finally we would have this shape for the major pentatonic. Again, flat the E. Whoops. So those are the positions, right? So if you don't know that stuff, you probably want to spend some time getting that under your belt. The major pentatonics all over the fingerboard. There's tons of stuff on YouTube. I'm not going to go into that here or provide any documentation, but just understand that the scale we're talking about, what Mick calls the minor pentatonic Japanese, is root, 2nd, flat 3rd, 5th, and 6th. So that's the baseline. Now, oddly for Mick, anyone who knows the book or has studied with Mick or knows anything about his approach, he's incredibly meticulous and is very interested in exploring like every possibility that exists. He doesn't do that with this pentatonic scale in the book, which is unusual for him. Usually he's got like every possibility that you can think of, and then as you go off and practice that stuff. This one, he doesn't really give too many examples of how to use it. So that's what I wanted to do today, is to share some ways that I find it to be useful. There's many, but I'm going to pick 3, and that is the 2-5-1 in a minor key. So I'm going to choose, let's choose D minor. So the 2 chord would be E minor 7 flat 5. The 5 chord would be some type of altered chord, A7 altered, some type of altered tensions. And then the 1 chord, D minor 6, D minor 9, D minor 7, whatever, right? So we're going to spend a little bit of time on each one of those. So when I make these videos not really knowing who my audience is, it's very difficult to tell what lands and what doesn't. And everybody's coming from a different place. So give me just a minute of your time here to help try to clarify this approach, because I think some people might be quite confused by it. But let's assume that you understand relative major and minor. So any place you know your C major pentatonic, the normal C major and A minor is the same exact notes. Another example would, let's pick another key, G major. If you have a G major pentatonic and you have an E minor pentatonic, they're exactly the same notes. All right, so relative to each other, major and minor. So if we think in those terms for a minute, I'm going to drop Mick's Japanese concept the way he presents it and say, well, let's think of, we already have discussed the major pentatonic. Let's use G as this example. We simply lower the third degree. So root, second, third is normally a B. We move it down to B flat, but leave everything else the same. Right? So we play a major pentatonic, but we lower the third. Now we have our Japanese pentatonic. If we then go to the relative, to E minor, let's go up here to E minor. Everyone knows their favorite E minor pentatonic shape. Here we simply lower the fifth degree. So root, flat third, fourth, fifth is normally here. We switch to a B flat, from B natural to B flat. And it's there. Or so either way, you can think of it either way. Think of it as a minor pentatonic with the fifth flatted, or a major pentatonic with the third flatted. As long as they're relative, then that will give you the scale. So if we apply that idea to the chords we used at the beginning of the example, 2, 5, 1 in D minor, the 2 chord being E minor 7 flat 5, well, if we think of this as an E minor pentatonic with a flat 5, that's the scale. So there's no real need to think of it in terms of a G major with a flatted third. That's too confusing. So just think of it as an E minor pentatonic, but the fifth is flatted. Okay, so that's the 2 chord. The 5 chord, A7 altered. We have a couple ways to think about this. We could think of it as, let's think of it as a traditional minor pentatonic. We go down to the 7th degree, the flatted 7th, G, and play a minor pentatonic with the 5th flatted. So G, B flat, C, D flat, or A sharp, or C sharp, F, and G. So it looks like a normal, the pentatonic we all know, but the 5th is flatted. And over an A altered chord, we get this. Okay, so you get all those altered tensions with this scale. It's pretty cool. Another way you could think of it is to take the major version, which would be, so relative to G minor is B flat major, so we could play a B flat major pentatonic, except we flat the 3rd degree, and it gives us exactly the same notes as the G minor with the flatted 5th. So again, here's A7 altered, B flat with a flatted 3rd, B flat major with a flatted 3rd. So either one, whichever one works for you, use that one. And then lastly would be over the 1 chord, D minor 7, D minor 6, 9, D minor something. If we think of it from the root of the major pentatonic, we would think of D, but we would flat D major pentatonic, but with the 3rd flatted. So it's really D minor. D B minor 6, root 2nd, flat 3rd, 5th, and 6th. Now the relative of this is B minor. So if we played a B minor pentatonic, but we flatted the 5th, that's the same scale. So think of it this way: B minor, everyone knows this B minor pentatonic. Just flat the 5th. Here's the chord, D minor. So, whichever way you prefer to think about it, personally, I prefer to think of the intervals. I just like to think of what colors do I want to use and play those intervals, regardless of anything else of scale. But I understand that people aren't really there. They might not know the fingerboard that well, and these steps might help explore other areas of the fingerboard and incrementally get to the point where you're free and you can just play all over the fingerboard. So hope that's helpful. Again, if you go back and learn your pentatonics, your normal pentatonics in the 5 different positions, and then make these alterations. Again, those alterations being, if it's a major pentatonic, you simply flat the 3rd. If it's a minor pentatonic, you simply flat the 5th. And that gives you what Mick calls the Japanese pentatonic. And that can be applied over a 2 chord in a minor key, over the 5 chord in the minor key, and over the 1 chord in different applications. So you can get a lot of colors out of this thing. So hopefully that's helpful for you, and it gives you some inspiration to try some new melodic material. Good luck.